It is day 155 of working on the Griffin sword. We're still working on this scabbard. The last thing we got done was we got the throat and the tip fully shaped and ready for gold inlay. So I've already got some layout here on the throat. We're gonna start with this piece and go ahead and do a nice little gold inlay that goes around the border of it. So when it comes to engraving the throat piece here, one of my main concerns is that it's kind of thin. It's about 60 thousandths of an inch thick. So that means I need to make sure I don't cut the grooves too deep. But also, something I'm really concerned about is because it's thin, when I go to engrave on it, it's gonna vibrate and move a lot, and I don't think it'll cave in, but I don't want it to vibrate and move. I want it to feel like it's a nice, solid piece of metal as I'm engraving on it. I've ordered some special metal that I've never used before. This is Serosafe. I've got 2 pounds of it, all wrapped up here. This is, I believe it's lead and zinc and bismuth or something like that. I know there's definitely lead and bismuth in it. But what's so cool about this metal is it melts at anywhere from 160 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is extremely low. Something like lead, I believe, is like 610 degrees or something. So this is significantly lower melting temperature than lead. So my plan is to melt those bars down and fill the inside of this piece so it'll act more like a solid piece as I'm engraving on it. Let's try to melt this Serosafe. I saw some people online doing some different things, like putting it in a double boiler system and doing it on the stove, maybe even heating it up with a torch or something. I think the first thing I wanna try is with this induction heater and a coffee can. Go ahead and get this opened up, stick it in there. Whoa, look at that. Whoa, that's some crazy looking stuff there. Looks like the top of it was milled on. There's some little mill marks on it. Bottom's all rough. So because of the bismuth and lead that's in this stuff, I think it's pretty soft. I don't know if it's like harder or softer than lead, like straight lead would be. I do know that the density is pretty dense as well. Feels pretty heavy for how small of a piece of metal this is. What really blows my mind is that this alloy melts somewhere between 160 and 200 degrees. That's so low. We can poke at it with a scribe and see how soft it is. It's pretty soft. I don't know if it's softer than lead or not, but definitely pretty soft. All right, let's turn on the induction heater and hopefully it doesn't go up in a ball of flames or anything. I don't like that. That's probably not good. That's probably not really how we want to heat it. So I didn't like what was going on with that induction heater. I think the heat was really harsh. It was burning the paint off the bottom of the can really fast. I think instead we're gonna go ahead and try using this crucible and a torch. Whoa, 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 did you see that? It soaked up so much heat already. Dad, watch this. Oh no. Shoot. That did not work. It's a lot more liquidy than I thought in it. Yeah. Making a mess. And getting this stuff all over the place, which I really don't like because it's got nasties in it. Lead and stuff. After that horrible mess of stuff leaking all over, I think we're good to go. We're about half full. I had it filled up all the way, but then it leaked out around the aluminum foil. But now it should be sealed off, so I'm gonna melt this down and fill it up the rest of the way now. I'm melting! Oh, I meant to preheat the top of that and melt it a little bit. Oh well.
It'll stick.
Hope it doesn't start running out through that.
Cool it off quick if it starts. Losing it.
What am I losing?
It's setting up.
Oh. I'm in my engraving room. I've got the throat piece with our Serosafe metal inside of it, all clamped up here in my vise. I think I'm ready to start engraving. I'm really curious to see if this acts like a nice solid block or if it's gonna have weird vibration in it. So far it seems pretty good. It's not as solid as I was hoping for, but it's definitely more solid than it otherwise would have been. And I definitely don't have to worry about accidentally collapsing or crushing this part as I engrave on it. Not that that was probably gonna happen anyway, but. I finished cutting in the grooves and added a bunch of little dovetail dots at the bottom of them on the throat and tip, so these pieces are ready for gold inlay. I think I want to go ahead and harden the pieces though before we add the gold inlay. That should help me keep all of our lines extra crisp. Sometimes if I try to add the gold inlay while the pieces are soft, I've noticed I can have a tendency of rounding over some of the edges and the corners and dinging up the metal more than I otherwise would. So I need to heat up this piece, get rid of the Serosafe inside of it, and then we can start the heat treating process to harden and temper our throat and tip. That's really cool. Like molten metal dripping out. Oh, it's hot. Well, that's about 500 degrees right there. You melt around the edges and have a big chunk that's not melted yet, just come right out of the, slide right out the middle.
Like a popsicle?
Yeah.
I think you watch.
Just like that. That's exactly what I was talking about. It actually did it. So for the throat and tip on the Scabbard, I'm actually gonna not heat treat them with salt. I think salt would be ideal for the throat piece, but for the tip piece, I'm kind of worried that if I tried to heat treat it with salt, the salt could cause an issue inside of this crevice here. If I lowered it down into the salt this way, I'm not sure exactly what would happen, but here's my theory. The inside of that would be full of air, so as you lower it down into the salt, that air would heat up more and more and more, and the air expands when it heats up, especially when you're heating it up to 1500 degrees, and I think it would blow bubbles of salt and air out, which could come up through the top of the salt and blow air bubbly salt out, and you could possibly get molten salt kind of popping or exploding out of the top of the tank, and that would be very, very bad. If we lowered it into the salt this way, you wouldn't have the air build up in there, but you would have this full of salt when you take it out to heat treat it. So you'd have to somehow like tip it over and dump the salt out or something after you take it out of the salt bath. Sideways would be ideal, but the piece is too long to fit in the tank sideways. So that doesn't really work. Salt would definitely be fine for this piece since it's open all the way through, but I think we're gonna just wing it here a little bit and try to heat treat it with the good old Paragon electric kiln and some Brownell's anti-scaling compound. Hopefully this will work okay. Oh, propane's obviously leaking out of this. I got the valve all the way off.
I got residue on it. Nah, it ain't. It got residue.
All right, here we go. So what we gotta do is heat the part up to about 500 degrees or so, and then the anti-scale compound will stick. There's an anti-scale compound that I see some people using, especially in other countries, that I'd really like to get my hands on. You just paint it on and then you let it dry, or you force it to dry. And it looks super amazing. I think it's called Chondrocell, but I've been looking for it for a couple of years in the US, and it's not been available every time I go to look for it. So we're gonna stick to the Brownells, which I am more familiar with anyway, I guess. You know what we should probably do, but I don't know if I'm going to? We should also probably be purging the inside of that kiln with argon gas. Could do that. Should I do that? Let me keep thinking about it. All right, that looks okay. I'm feeling okay.
Feeling it.
I'm feeling okay. Doesn't it sound like it? I'm feeling just fine. I think everything's gonna be fine. Tell me everything's gonna be fine. Descent into madness. All right, here we go. Let's go into the oven. We're hot, 1500 degrees. 25 degrees cooler than I normally go, just because we don't need the absolute maximum for this. Put it about right there. let it heat back up, and then let it soak for a good, probably 8 minutes or so. So I accidentally way overheated the oil while I was focusing on putting that anti-scaling compound on the part. Got the oil up to 150 degrees. Josh kindly got me a couple fans to put on this though, and we're already cooling it down pretty quickly actually. We're already almost down to 120. My target temperature is 100, so I think we'll be good by the time this is hot. And by I think, I mean I know. All right, I think it's go time. We've got the oil cooled down. Our part's been soaking for a good number of minutes. I am scared right now. Let's take this thing out and harden it. Man. Ugh. I'll let the temperature come back up. It was in there a little too far for me to reach. So the two main things I'm worried about are just the part cracking. It's so thin and it's made from Damascus and everything. I'm afraid one of the welds or something will crack, or something will crack in half. And another thing is just that it'll warp and disfigure the part so badly that it won't be usable and it won't fit onto the scabbard anymore. So I'm only worried about those two things, but those two things are pretty big in my mind. All right, let's try this again. I'm gonna pull this out a little bit so I can reach it. And then grab this, and then quench. And try not to breathe the fumes. All those cracking sounds are hopefully just the coating coming off. Hopefully it's nice and hard, not disfigured by warpage, and not cracked. I have a good feeling that the anti-scaling compound did its job really well, just because I see it kind of chipping off and it looks like there's nice clean metal underneath. On initial inspection, it doesn't look like it warped severely, so that pretty much just leaves two questions in my mind. Is it hard? Which it probably is, and did it crack at all? Didn't hear any cracks. You would probably, like you heard a bunch of little sizzle crackling, but that was just this, I believe it was just this stuff, this anti-scaling compound cracking on the outside. Normally when a metal part cracks, you'll hear a higher pitch like ting inside the can that's like super obvious. Take a look at this, looks kind of cool. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful clean metal underneath the anti-scaling compound. We can get this off very easily in boiling water. Sometimes it kind of sticks on there really more difficult. Whoa, look at that. Nice big satisfying pieces coming off there. Oh man, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm feeling pretty good now. You can see we have a nice oval shape. I was really worried about like weird distortion or something happening. I've never heat treated a part that was shaped like this before. You know, a big oval piece. So I didn't know if the sides would cave in or warp really badly or something. Let's get it into the old Paragon here to do a flash temper on it. Set it right there and let her cook.
Much later.
I'm in my engraving room. The throat and tip pieces have both finished tempering. So the pieces have been hardened and tempered so they're not brittle anymore. I also ground the outside of them clean real quick, just with a little 320 grit, just to see if I had any scale or cracks or anything. And there was no scale anywhere on both pieces, no warpage on both pieces, and no cracks on both pieces. I am so happy the pieces hardened up so well. Hardening these two pieces was something that I've been worried about ever since this sword was just an idea in my head. I didn't know exactly how hardening these thin pieces that are shaped like this was gonna go, so I'm very thrilled. The next thing I'm gonna do, and the reason I'm in my engraving room, is because I'm gonna start smashing in some 24 karat gold into all these grooves that we've prepared before we harden the pieces. It's day 165 of working on the Griffin sword. I finished inlaying the 24 karat gold on our throat and tip pieces, and I also went ahead and spent a couple days hand sanding and doing a ton of hand sanding. So I've got the throat piece etched and in the coffee right now, and I'm gonna show you the etching process on the tip. I just finished hand sanding this piece. I've got it sanded up to 1,500 grit, and it looks very nice. Our gold inlay looks very nice. This piece is ready for etching. I figured this piece would be kind of tricky to hold, so I made up this, this little thing here. This is a dowel that happens to fit down in there nice and snug, so I'll just kind of pressure fit it in there. I cut a little groove in it right around here for the wire to sit, and then we've got the wire coming up in both ends, and it should be able to hang suspended in my container of ferric chloride and in my container of instant coffee. Speaking of instant coffee, I should go ahead and get that mixed up so it can sit and homogenize for a few minutes. I don't know if that's necessary, but it can do that for a few minutes while we're etching the tip here. All right, I think it's mixed up well. Let's do a little taste test to make sure I mixed it properly. Oh, that one little sip had to have been like enough for a whole pot of coffee. This is so concentrated. Oh, gross. Next, I'm gonna clean this part really well. We don't want any oils or dirt or residue or anything to be on here. And now we add the tip to our ferric chloride. I'm gonna let it etch in here for about 10 minutes this time. Our time has passed. It's time to take this thing out. Whoa, look at that pattern. Whoa, that looks so good. Look at the pattern. That looks amazing. Oh, I love it. Well, that's cool. Edge view. Wow, look at that. I was going for a clean, elegant look with the pattern on the fittings for the scabbard and the fittings for the sword. And I think this definitely looks clean and elegant to me. Next, I'm gonna add the piece to some baking soda water. This is going to neutralize the ferric chloride and keep it from rusting the part and continuing to etch it. Okay, we're going into the instant coffee mixture. I'm gonna let it soak here probably overnight.
The following day.
The tip is done soaking. You can take it out of the coffee, rinse it off. Oh, that wood swelled up. Good. Oh, that fits so much tighter than when I put it in there. I'm gonna let this part sit, and I think the coffee does a little bit better. It's a little bit harder if I let it sit for a while before I polish on it with the sunshine cloth. So I'm gonna let it sit for probably a good 6-8 hours, maybe overnight or something, and then we'll polish on it and see how the final finish looks, or if I need to redo the etch or anything like that. I let the coffee darkened oxides on the part set up overnight, and now I'm gonna use a sunshine cloth to polish the part. This is gonna get rid of that little bit of a yellow tint there, and it should still leave a ton of contrast on the Damascus itself. Because right now there is a little bit of a yellow tint, and that's just from the coffee affecting the 15 and 20. It's the next day. Dad's got the forge running right now. He's working on a brand new billet of Damascus. I spent about an hour with the sunshine cloth on the tip, getting all that yellow tint cleaned off of it. The black stayed on very good. Then I added a carnauba wax finish, and then I went back with the sunshine cloth again to buff on the carnauba wax. And the tip piece is completely done, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Before we can make it so the scabbard will hang from a belt, a quick word from our sponsor.
When your dad's grinding in a heat wave and the only thing he's losing more than sweat is his patience. It's time to fix that. So I installed a Mr. Cool DIY in my shop. And let me tell you, it was easy.
Oh, that wasn't too hard at all. This whole thing has a coil around it, Dad. I was keeping an eye on it, didn't kink at all. Just with the spring around it. I don't know how that works. It's like magic. Oh, that looks so good. I love this piece that they have here. Just looks really good with the pipe coming out right there. First startup, let's see how it works. Oh, it's quiet. It's super quiet. Whoa, the thing is blowing. Oh, yep, that air is cooling down rapidly. Wow, that feels very cool already. That is amazing. Dude, I need one of these in my house.
The Mr. Cool DIY has the power to cool down my whole shop quick. Now the shop is ready when we are.
Get yourself a Mr. Cool DIY. You'll love it. The next thing I need to work on is the rigging to hang the scabbard onto a belt. We're gonna be making the rigging and a belt from scratch, but I'm gonna focus on this rigging part for now. I spent an entire day working on this rigging, getting it all figured out, getting it to hit the best sweet spot I possibly could for it to hang properly. And I tried to make it in a way to where it'll work on multiple different people, as long as they're somewhat around the same belt size. What I ended up spending a day doing was moving all this stuff around. I would make this piece right here longer, make it shorter, make this piece longer, shorter, move it around on my belt, see how it hung in between every little trial, and continually adjusting it and moving it. I want to get the entire scabbard to sit lower, get it to sit higher, get it to sit back around behind me further, get it to sit over to the front. After all that trial and error, this is what I came up with. With this belt, you want to hang it a little higher than you normally would for like a belt holding your pants up. I've got mine just below my belly button here. And from the research and stuff I've done, I think a lot of swords were hung at about that height. And then what we got going on here is this rigging is hooked up to the back of the belt right here, but you can see this just flops all over the place, right? So what we're gonna do on the actual rigging system is this will have a belt buckle on it, and you'll take the end of your belt and it'll actually get buckled to the end of this. And then once that's fastened, this becomes very nice and secure and doesn't flop all over. So for now, I've got a little clamp, and I'm just gonna clamp this on, and then we can add in the sword and see how it all hangs with the sword in here. Oh, nice satisfying sound right there. That is how the sword looks on my side right here. It's got a nice angle to it. I played around a lot with making it sit up more like this, or making it sit more like this. And you can do that by adjusting the length of these pieces. You can get it to sit pretty much however you want it to. This won't be adjustable for the customer, so I need to get it to a really good position that I think is gonna work for multiple different body types before I finish the real thing, because I want it to work on the customer really well. But I like this a lot. It's nice and secure. When you walk around, it starts to flop a little bit. You just barely rest your hand on there a little bit, and you can really guide it and control where that tip is going and making sure that you're not banging the tip into things as you're walking around, and it feels very nice. So after spending the whole day adjusting this and figuring it all out, I think I'm very happy with it. I went ahead and gave myself some marks where everything goes, and I think the next thing to do is to take all this apart, measure it, and start working on the real rigging, the actual stuff I'm gonna do. This is just test pieces on here right now.
Later.
It's a few days later. I took the strap off of the scabbard, and the reason it's a couple days later is because I made our official strap and I made the main belt for the scabbard. Also, if you're wondering what that noise is, Dad's forging out some fresh Damascus in the background over there. Here is the actual belt that we're gonna use on this sword scabbard. I wanted it to look nice, but I didn't want it to look too busy or too chaotic, because our sword is a really clean, elegant sword. I wanted everything else to match that clean, elegant look. I spent a lot of time on this thin strap getting all the tooling and getting it all finished out. I am, however, concerned that it's not gonna work. And the reason being, all that leather finishing I did, smoothing the back, smoothing the edges, putting the finish on, dyeing it, stiffened the leather up quite a bit compared to how it was when I started. You can see how this piece here flops around and everything quite a bit. We need it to be loose enough to where we can tie that special knot around the scabbard. And this piece here isn't nearly as loose and floppy, so it might be too stiff to even work, but we're about to find out, because it is time to actually hook this up and tie it to the scabbard. This is the official thing, and this is the real deal finally. I've got a piece of tape marked out where this touches the scabbard. backward cement truck.
In the Lehigh Valley, a cement truck and an SUV collided on.
I've got a piece of tape on here. This marks out where I want it to start. So that piece of tape needs to go right up against the scabbard like that. Okay, I need to make sure I'm working with the front of the scabbard properly here. Is that touching the ground? So we just go right up to the piece of tape, I believe. Oh, if it works, it's gonna look so good. Look at that tooling. Oh, I want it to work so badly. Okay, so we start right there where the tape is. I don't know how I'm gonna hold all this in place. Oh, it's all slippery too. The leather's slippery from working it a bunch. Okay, here's one of the first critical things. We gotta bend it around this piece here. Ah. So far, the way the leather's bending around is actually better than what I was expecting. In fact, maybe even better than the leather before it was finished. But something I wasn't expecting is because I finished out the backside and everything's so smooth, it's sitting on here shifting and moving around on me a lot compared to the rough leather that's all rough on the back. That stayed in place a little bit easier. I also have to be gentle with this because I don't want to scuff it up and everything. If I dig into it really bad with my fingernails, I'll put giant deep gashes and marks in the leather. So here's one of the nastiest curves or nastiest parts of the knot that I have to make that I'm concerned about the leather, if it's going to be able to flex around it enough or not. Right here, I've got to bring this piece around and going back over the top here. And that's really the worst part of the whole knot as far as the leather being flexible or stiff. Yeah, that actually looks really good. Oh, that's looking pretty cool. Look at that. Oh. This is really a vibe I've never gotten with knives before because I've never had a scabbard that had like straps and everything like this on any of my knives or daggers or anything. Next, I'm gonna try to fold the loop that we need right here for the belt to go through. So I think I need the leather, something like this, and then I fold it in and down like that and like that. So I took my belt off and I'm running it through here. We've got to finalize this loop a little bit better and kind of bend the leather to match the belt. I'm just using mine so I don't scuff up the nice brand new belt we made. My belt's the same width as the belt I built. One thing that's critical here is I had to put a seam in this leather because I needed a really long piece, a piece longer than anything I could buy that I was able to find anywhere. So I had to splice it together, and I want to make sure that this splice ends up on the back side of the belt. So that's the important thing. That needs to end up about right there. Oh, this really hurts my soul to bend this leather. Once you do this, it's gonna be kind of kinked up a little bit. But I've got to do it. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Okay, I've got my belt running through there the right way. Let's go ahead and try out the fit with this thing. See how it hangs with the real rigging. So with this, we want the belt to be right around the belly button or just below the belly button and not actually at your waistline. And then the customer will be able to move this around. You have to find the right position. For some people, it'll need to be further forward. Some people, it'll need to be further back. So it's gonna sit right there. And then we're gonna put a belt buckle on this end. And then the end of the other belt will hook right into that belt buckle. Something just about like that. Oh man, that looks really good. That looks really good. Oh, I'm liking that. I am liking that a lot. That seems to be hanging exactly like my test practice piece as far as I can tell. Oh man, I think we're good. I'm still gonna leave that extra long strap on the bottom as long as possible, but I think we can go ahead and cut off the top and put the belt buckle on there. I just need to figure out where I want to cut it and where I want the belt buckle to be. So we've got our belt buckle on here now. I went ahead and assembled everything. We've got our belt, our straps are all hooked up. The only thing that's left on here is this extra strap to cut off, but before I cut that off, I wanna see how the actual sword hangs on here and make sure that it all sits in the right place, just in case we have to make an adjustment with this back piece here. Go ahead and put it in there. kind of settle it in place and see how it all looks. Oh man, it's sitting about perfect. Oh, I feel like it's sitting in the exact same place that I had my practice test piece. Oh, that feels really good. That feels really good. Let me walk around with it a little bit. This stiffer leather, I think, is making it feel even more stable than my practice stuff. This belt right here, the end of the belt's a little extra long. All you need to do is wrap it around and kind of tie it down here. That extra length will be nice in case the customer wants to wear it a little bit differently, or if it ends up with somebody that's bigger or smaller, there's some adjustability to it there. Look at that. That sits nice. That feels good. Oh, the scabbard's almost done. We've just got to get that throat and tip glued in place, and then that's done. Oh man. Oh, I love it. It is day 176 of working on the Griffin sword, and hopefully today is the final day of working on the scabbard. I've got our throat and tip that are freshly etched, masked off. What it's time to finally do is to epoxy the throat and the tip to the scabbard and our little tiny end cap here. It's a little end cap that I made off video that goes on the very end, and it kind of dresses up the end of the throat so it looks nicer from there. We got to get that in place as well. And once those three things are done, the scabbard is finished, and I can go back to finishing the sword. To epoxy the throat and tip together, I'm going to use some really high quality G-Flex West System epoxy. It won't take a lot to hold these pieces on because the tip fits so tightly that you actually have to clamp it in a vise and yank on it pretty hard to even get it off. This will definitely be more than enough to hold it in place, I'm sure. Okay, I think that's good for one. I think I'm gonna go for about 5 pennyweight of each half of our epoxy blend here. 10 pennyweight, it's 9.99 DWT. I think that's as close to 10 as I could possibly get. Got some epoxy in the tip piece. Let's do the final assembly on this. So there's a front and a back to this. I've designated the side of the shark skin that has a more aggressive texture as the front. I also went ahead and marked my pieces to make sure I put them on the right way. So hopefully it's just the right amount of epoxy, but not so much to where it's oozing out all over the leather. If I start to see it oozing as I'm getting close, I'll stop and clean some of it out, because we can handle it oozing where it's gonna get covered, but we can't handle any oozing up here on the finished stuff. That would be very bad. Okay, I saw a little something there. I want to clean it out and then continue. Now it's going to smear epoxy all over. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, now we try again. Looks good to me. Let's try to go all the way now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't see any epoxy oozing out anywhere. I think that was probably just the right amount. Okay, the tip is now officially part of the scabbard. I'm gonna mask off the tip here a little bit more before we move on to the throat. I don't want to scratch anything at this point. You know what else I should do? I should mask off this belt buckle so it's not banging into my piece here and getting in the way. We've got a little bit of epoxy running around in here, but I might leave that for now, because now I have to figure out how I'm holding this end cap in place. I think I'm gonna epoxy it in there, but I gotta be very careful about it because there's velvet underneath this piece of tape, and I don't wanna get epoxy in that velvet that the sword's gonna scrape on and live on. It's the next day, the epoxy has dried, and I am wearing the finished scabbard with the sword. So come on over here and take a look at it. La, la, la. The scabbard is finally finished. I feel like I've been working on this thing for months. We have our Damascus throat and tip with 24 karat gold inlays, our scabbard body itself, which has a wood core made out of poplar, lined with velvet on the inside, covered in shark skin on the outside, stitched all the way around on the edges. We've got our straps and rigging to hold it all. We've got our custom-made belt, and everything sits very nicely. I'm very happy with this 3-point harness system that I made here. I feel like the sword stays very secure when I'm moving around. It sits at a nice angle. I love the angle that it's sitting at. If you're walking around a bunch, you can just lightly rest your hand on here and kind of guide and direct the sword wherever you want to go with it. I love how this scabbard came out. It looks so, so good. The Damascus throat and tip, I've never done anything like that on a scabbard. I've made a couple of smaller knife scabbards that had a throat and tip on them, but they were like made out of nickel silver or something like that, and you just form the sheet metal around it. I've never made anything like this with Damascus steel. It was so much more work. The sword fits beautifully in the scabbard. You can pull it out here, and then as far as it fitting in, very, very nicely. I'm very happy with the stability of the scabbard. Here's with no hands or anything on it. It doesn't shake around or move or wobble too much at all. And if you're gonna really get aggressive with it, you could lightly just put your hand on here, and then you can kind of maneuver it, keep that tip from banging into things, especially if you're like going through a China store. You could kind of direct where it goes, but it hangs very, very nicely. And then drawing it isn't too bad at all. You've just got to have enough reach to be able to pull it all the way out. And then putting it back in is a little bit tricky. I like to kind of direct it with my finger here to make sure I'm not stabbing the tip into the end of the scabbard. Get it started, goes right in, boom. It feels really, really good. Most of the weight from the scabbard is getting transferred over to this side of the belt, so that's where you feel the most tension, but it feels very comfortable. Now that the scabbard's done, I'm gonna focus my attention back on the sword. I have hand sanding, buffing, polishing, etching, and sharpening to do on this sword. Oh, and I have to engrave the griffin on the pommel. I also want to let you know about our griffin shirts. I'm wearing one right now. We only have a few of these left, and once these shirts are gone, they are gone. We're not gonna order any more, so you can consider them a collector item, if you will. On the griffin shirt, we have artwork of a griffin, and the griffin is holding the griffin sword. And this is the actual sketch of the sword that I made before I even started the griffin sword. And the print is incredible on these shirts. We have them printed right here in Springfield, Missouri. Get one before they're gone because there won't be any more. I will see you in the next video. May the forge be with you. Bye-bye!